LeBron, what's your decision?
In this fall, man, this is very tough. In this fall, I'm going to take my talents to South Beach and join the Miami Heat.
This is terrible. This is the worst thing that could ever happen to Cleveland since Modell taking the Browns away.
I went to see Cavs games before LeBron was there. I'll never go back again. I hope the franchise moves. I hope there's no more basketball in Cleveland.
I hope he never wins anything in Miami. He is dead to me.
I thought for once in my life, with how much I love Cleveland sports, it would love me back. And that has not happened today.
I'm a big LeBron fan, and this is the worst thing that could have ever happened to me.
LeBron James tells Sports Illustrated, quotes, "I'm going home." LeBron says, "I'd always believed that I'd return to Cleveland and finish my career there."
He was always coming back, bringing a championship to Cleveland.
It is a great day in the city of Cleveland.
Best player in the world coming back home. It's awesome.
Shut the front door. LeBron is back. Great decision, LeBron.
Welcome back home.
Welcome home, LeBron.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And download every episode and more at basicallyasportshow.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg,
Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
But anyway, guys, there's something we need to talk about before we get into LeBron.
Okay.
What's that?
White gay men are stealing black female culture.
Yeah, this is a real problem. I've noticed this.
What?
Just click on the link.
Mike and I, before we started the show, we were discussing how remarkably stupid people can be.
No, I saw the thing that you posted I had seen the other day. I don't know if that's real or somebody being sarcastic.
The Steven Spielberg one?
Yeah, I want to hope it's someone being sarcastic, just so that someone's not that dumb.
No, I think the guy that posted it did it as a joke. I don't think he thought it was real, did he?
He had to have, right?
I mean,
yeah, that's the impression I got reading it. But the way people responded to it was priceless.
I like it. That's Steven Spielberg, director of Jurassic Park. I don't care what his name is. He shouldn't have shot that animal.
What if somebody else called him an inhumane prick or something like that?
Yeah, and it's like and someone else was like, "I'm never watching your movies again. You are an animal killer."
Oh my god!
Like I said to Mike earlier, almost the entirety of human knowledge is available with the click of a mouse now. Yet, for some reason, people just keep getting dumber.
No, humans are stupid.
Wouldn't you think, though, that people would get smarter in this age of the information age?
Because everything's so readily available that you don't need to look things up.
Yeah.
Or that you don't need to learn things, I guess, is the proper way to say
maybe
it.
people just aren't inquisitive, I guess. Because
well, have you ever seen that Louis C.K. bit about Google and the Internet?
No.
Back before we had a computer in our hand, if you didn't know something, you had to take time and try to, like, if you really wanted to know something, you'd have to go and look it up, go to, like, a library, go ask people, make a phone call, or maybe you don't do any of that, and just years later, you would finally learn it, and you get the satisfaction of, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, God, what is that? Let me just Google it real quick. Oh, there it is. Okay, now I know it.
You know
no
what?
Big deal.
That is true, because when did the Internet really take off? Where, I'd say, 2000, 2001 probably?
Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s.
And I can go back and I can tell you every Super Bowl and every World Series, all this stuff about sports up until about 2000. Then if you say, I mean, I know who won the 2002 World Series because it was the Angels, but ask me, like, who won in 2004? It was the Red Sox.
Red Sox.
But the Super Bowls, I got no idea.
Marlins.
Yeah, I mean, the baseball I can still probably do. 05 was Chicago.
White Sox?
Yeah.
So who won the 1972 World Series?
Oakland A's.
Oh, there you go.
Their first of 3 in a row.
How about that?
Gene Tennis hit 2 home runs in Game 1 and won the MVP of the series.
See, there you go.
You aren't going to stump me on anything from the 70s, man, because but like Zach said, I couldn't go out and just Google everything, so I read everything I could get my hands on. I had a subscription.
All that sort of stuff you had to commit to memory.
Right, exactly. I had Sports Illustrated subscription. I had Sport Magazine.
I guess
Baseball Digest. It was just, and I lived for it.
When the Internet was in its infancy, all the great thinkers behind it thought what Greg thought, like, oh, this is going to increase knowledge.
You really think it would?
But here's the thing that humanists always do. Humanists always underestimate human stupidity. Humans, I mean, it's from a movie, but I'm going to quote Tommy Lee Jones from Men in Black. Humans are dumb, panicky animals, and you know it.
Yeah. It's not wrong.
Human is smart. Humans are dumb, panicky animals.
If we had titles to our episodes, that's what I would call this one. Humans are dumb, panicky animals, and you know it. But it just floors me because my girlfriend and I talk about it a lot, and I say, if you're stupid in this day and age, it's because you want to be stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, it's
I really
worse
believe
with kids. Like kids growing up in this age of not having to know anything.
I mean, at least like Zach and I's generation, we grew up like before we had some time to develop our
line. Like we had experience before the internet existed.
Yeah.
We have some idea of what it was like to not live with a phone in my pocket.
Exactly.
Or, just going outside and playing until the sun went down.
Yeah. Now the NFL has to have a campaign about going outside to play for an hour.
Yeah.
Right, 'cause kids are fat.
Yeah, because when we were kids, back in the 70s, what we did, you got up in the morning, you ate, and there was a ballpark right down the street from my house. So we went down there and we played baseball until it was time to go eat dinner.
Yep.
Then we'd come home and eat, come back down and play baseball until the sun went down. And that's what we did all day.
I mean, like, I would play video games with friends, but, like, back then they didn't have Xbox Live.
Or co-op mode or anything like that.
Right. So I would have to physically walk down the hill to my friend's house, play at his house. And even then, you get bored doing that, and then we just kind of run around. And then it's like, oh, it's like 7:30. I need to go home and eat dinner. And that was
yeah.
I mean, like,
I'd walk down to my friend's house. We'd play GoldenEye for a while.
Sure.
And then after that, we'd go outside. We'd play street hockey for hours, and then we'd go outside, play some GoldenEye, and then I'd go home.
Yeah, nowadays, well, you see it. I mean, kids are overweight. They're out of shape.
And when you force them outside, they all just sit around playing on their phones anyway.
That's what kills me. Everywhere, like I work at a high school. Well, Mike, you know this better than anybody. Mm-hmm. I mean, you see a group of kids, and they're all standing around talking to people that aren't there.
Yeah.
They're all texting someone. It's just nutty to me. I don't know.
No. It's like when I was in high school, and like when I was in high school, like that's when like the smartphone was still a new thing, and not everyone had them. Mm-hmm. So like you'd walk by, and if you saw a group of kids, they were talking to each other. Now you walk by a group of kids in a high school, and they're all on their phones. It's like,
right.
Yeah.
Why are you even next to each other? You're not speaking to each other.
Yeah, I think the phone I had, it was just like a phone and it could text. But I don't think I got a smartphone until maybe when I got my second year of college.
Yeah, that was
I got a BlackBerry, I think.
That was around for me too. I had a Razor for like the last half of my life.
Man, I thought those Motorola Razors were so cool when they first came out.
Yeah, well, they were thin. They had the flip phones.
Right, yeah.
I had a Razor. I'm like, badass. I've got the phone of the future, man. And then
I had that phone that it flipped in half, like lengthwise. And it had the keyboard in it.
My first smartphone was this piece of shit Motorola that was basically a knockoff of a BlackBerry. But I thought it was the coolest thing in the world because I could go on the internet with it, and I had a little keyboard I could text with. Because when I first started texting, you just used your numbers, and you had to it was ABC, so you had to click 1 so you got
1 2 2 2 3 3 3. Yep.
Yeah. Now on my iPhone, I just speak into it. Of course, I must have some sort of speech impediment because I'll say something, and it'll do the texting. I'll read it and go, "That's just gibberish."
Yeah, you have to enunciate.
Yeah. And even when I do, it still does stuff weird. But anyway, I just to go back to my original point, I just find it remarkable that with all this knowledge so readily available, people just keep getting dumber by the day. I just don't understand it.
And now kids are using fire to mean cool, and that's the point where I check out because it's past the point now where I have any connection or familiarity with the slang involved.
That must be a Canadian thing.
Fire?
Yeah.
So what are they like? Wow, that's really fire, man.
Exactly. No, or if a kid comes in with like a new hat, oh, that hat's fire.
You want to set that hat on fire, or that hat is fire?
Some of them I do. Speaking of hats, my girlfriend's was in Salt Lake City all week for work.
Did you get a Salt Lake Bees?
I got a Salt Lake Bees hat, man.
Hey, AAA affiliate of your Los Angeles Angels Anaheim.
Exactly. I'm thrilled.
Greg's collection of obscure baseball things continues.
It's only obscure if you don't follow baseball. I mean,
no, it's only obscure if you don't follow minor league. I just can't follow minor league baseball. I guess the big thing for me is I don't know what channel to watch it on.
There isn't any. I can't. I never watch it. I mean, I'll watch the AAA All-Star game for 5 minutes. I don't watch the whole thing. I don't sit there and go, wow, this prospect from the Pirates. I don't know who anybody is.
Yeah,
I like watching.
Keep track of the Angels prospects, let alone the rest of the leagues.
I watch to see the stadium they're playing in and the uniforms, and I'll watch maybe 2 innings of it, and then I move on to something else.
Minor league baseball, I do think Brandios has kind of made the overall identity to be kind of blah. But
I liked what Admiral described it as carpet bombing.
Yeah. Where like everything got anthropomorphized and But point being, I do love minor league specialty jerseys.
Yes.
They are amazing.
Yes.
Yes, my Toledo Mud Hens just a couple weeks ago, I can't remember what it was. Was it Ghostbusters maybe?
Ghostbusters.
I don't remember, but they wore these really awful jerseys. And
were they made up to look like the jumpsuits they wore?
I think. I don't remember. You'd have to look it up. It might have been Ghostbusters. It might have been something else because I follow minor league baseball, the official minor league baseball website on Facebook, so I'll get all that stuff about jerseys and this and that. And it was just something really nutty. But I love minor league baseball to go to. It's a lot of fun. It's cheap.
I hear it's great family entertainment.
And I tell you this, too. It's probably over the last 15, 20 years, the ballparks are just incredible now. I mean, used to be they were just these dumps that nobody wanted to go to, but they've really – I still swear, and I've been to a lot of baseball stadiums, the park in Columbus for the Clippers is the best-looking baseball stadium I've ever seen in my life. It's
Isn't there
unbelievable.
one in – I forget the name of the state. I forget what team plays in it, but it's one in Texas. It's like named after Dr. Pepper.
Oh, it might be. I don't know.
I don't know. I've heard like it's an amazing minor league baseball stadium. But I find that great that like minor league baseball, every time I hear about it, it's always, it's a great, cheap family entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
But then a couple of years back, and I heard this firsthand because I was living in London, Ontario at the time, when London, Ontario got a minor league team and they wanted to name them after Jack the Ripper.
Oh, yeah, the London Rippers. I remember.
That would be great.
I tried so hard to get a hat because I knew they'd be forced to change.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
They had an official pro shop, but every time I went by it, it was like closed.
Wow, that would have been awesome. That would have been a cool name. But yeah, the stadiums are great. I got to be honest, when I go to minor league games, I don't really particularly pay much attention to the baseball. I'm checking out the park, buying hats and stuff, and it's fun. Here's the thing, like an Indians ticket to go sit in a decent seat at an Indians game is going to be at least $40. I take $40 to a Clippers game, man. I've got a seat, I've got food, and a hat or something if I want. It's ridiculously overpriced, Major League Baseball. But before we get down that road too far,
you mentioned Toledo, and Toledo's in Ohio.
That's
right.
What
else is in Ohio?
Well,
We're proud to announce that Greg is staying in Ohio. Everybody,
I am.
That essay he wrote to explain why he's coming back?
Yeah, I'm reading it right now. It's on Sports Illustrated.
I think we need to read a little quotes from this thing because there's some of these things that I want to break down and especially go over with you, Greg, because you are a man from Northeast Ohio.
I'm actually from Northwest Ohio, but
you're from Northern Ohio.
I live in Northern Ohio now. We probably should just say, in case anyone, and again, this goes back to what we were talking about 10 minutes ago. People are remarkably stupid. So just in case you're wondering, we're talking about LeBron James coming back to Cleveland. Okay.
And, before we get into it, I just want to say blanket to all of you Cleveland fans who burnt him in effigy. How do you root for a guy after you've burnt him in effigy?
How do I unburn a jersey?
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually one of my friends made a good point. It's actually a windfall for the Cavaliers because now they have to sell a bunch of new LeBron James jerseys, right?
Exactly.
Does this mean they're going to go back to 17 jerseys again? Of course it does.
Probably because the Cavs had like 17 jerseys when he was there, and then the Heat got like 17 jerseys when he was with them.
Yeah.
So
they got to make money, man.
I can't believe I even asked that question. Of course they're going to do that.
Yep.
Anyway, get ready for at least 5 sleeved Cavs jerseys.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, God.
I really like their look right now, too. It's nice and simple, clean, and I'm okay with it.
Enjoy those for the first 2 months.
Right.
All right. So, opening paragraph. Before anyone ever cared where I would play basketball, I was a kid from Northeast Ohio. It's where I walked. It's where I ran. It's where I cried. It's where I bled. It holds a special place in my heart. People there have seen me grow up. Sometimes I feel like I'm their son. Their passion can be overwhelming, but it drives me. I want to give them hope when I can. I want to inspire them when I can. My relationship with Northeast Ohio is bigger than basketball. I didn't realize that 4 years ago. I do now.
Sure, you picked up a couple rings, and now you can come back.
Mm-hmm. Well, and he gets into that a little later. He says, when I left Cleveland, I was on a mission. I was seeking championships, and we won 2. But Miami already knew that feeling. Our city hasn't had that feeling in a long, long time. Miami, for me, has been like college for other kids. These past 4 years have helped raise me into who I am. I became a better player and a better man. I learned from a franchise that had been where I wanted to go. I'm not having a press conference or a party. After this, it's time to get to work. Skipping along, talks about Dan Gilbert and all the booing of the fans and the jerseys being burned. It was easy to say, okay, how can I ever deal with these people again? But then you have to think about the other side. What if I were a kid who looked up to an athlete, and that athlete maybe wanted to do better in my own life, and then he left? How would I react? I met with Dan face-to-face, man-to-man. We talked it out. Everybody makes mistakes. I've made mistakes as well. Who am I to hold a grudge? Then he gets into the actual Cavaliers. I'm not promising a championship. I know how hard that is to deliver. We're not ready right now. No way. Of course, I want to win next year, but I'm realistic. It'll be a long process, much longer than it was in 2010. But I feel my calling here goes above basketball. My presence can make a difference in Miami, but I think it can mean a whole lot more where I'm from. In Northeast Ohio, nothing is given. Everything is earned. You work for what you have. I'm ready to accept the challenge. I'm coming home.
I've got a few thoughts. The first is it's well written. He says all the right things, but my initial sentiment kind of goes back to what Greg said, and that is it's really easy to say all that stuff after you've already won 2 titles with the Miami Heat.
I think I believe him when he said that at the time he really just wanted to go win the championships.
Mm-hmm.
And he got his championships. He got what he wanted out of Miami.
No, he didn't get what he wanted. He said he'd get 8.
Well,
he promised us 8.
He got 25% of them. That's not bad.
But he got a few. I believe him especially after reading this and kind of just digesting it. You see that he has grown up and he understands. I think part of it too, because every summer he would go back to Ohio, go back to Akron. He didn't stay down to Miami. He still loves his hometown, but I think he really does understand that maybe he shouldn't have left the first time. Or at least definitely not done all the crap that he did the first time. If he goes on and wins a title with the Cavaliers, he would have come back and been the prodigal son and all that and fulfilled whatever prophecy people laid on him beforehand. And those 4 years, those will get added into his statistics, but the ones that will matter will be what he does in Cleveland.
I think he handled this really well. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that he really believes that I think he really botched the way he handled leaving. I think he knows that.
I don't think anyone would dispute that.
I don't think I quoted that part, but I think that's something that he said was if he had to go back and do it again, he would definitely do it differently. He would do it pretty much like he did now.
I think he said,
I'm going to Miami.
I think he said, I'd still go to Miami, but like the whole press conference wouldn't have, the decision wouldn't have been a thing that he did.
I think that's something from other things I've been hearing today. That's something that he talked about when he met with Dan Gilbert. Was both of them handled that very badly, Like, if LeBron had just told them ahead of time, like, look, I really want to go win a championship. I don't think Cleveland's ready. I'm going to go to Miami and win a championship. And just announced it to somebody instead of having a TV show about it, I think the whole thing would have been looked at in a different light than it ended up being, for
First
both
off,
sides.
Cleveland and the fans really reacted poorly to the whole thing.
Yeah.
But had he done it differently, had he done it the quote-unquote right way and just did it like he's doing this, I don't think the reaction would have been nearly as strong. Now, that's not to say that they were okay in reacting the way they did, but Cleveland sports fans, for all their problems, are reasonably smart sports fans, and I think they just didn't like the way he went about it. I really think they would have understood more. I don't think they would have liked it, but – and I'm going to – the people that burnt the jerseys and did all that stupid shit, they're outliers. They're not really the typical Cleveland sports fan. But
there were people in Miami burning his jersey today, too.
Oh, you're kidding.
Were there?
A few people. And for bandwagon note, the Heat Twitter account lost more than 300,000 followers since LeBron made his decision today.
Oh, Miami Heat, enjoy going back to having 10,000 people in the arena on a good night.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's going to be that bad because luckily they retained a couple guys today, but we could talk about the dominoes about that later.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that he came back. I really didn't think he would. I thought it was just a everybody opted out to try to restructure things to keep it all going in Miami. This surprises me, and God knows there were so many ridiculous. So-and-so was seen at the airport. So-and-so bought this or that in Ohio. But what everybody seemed to forget throughout the whole thing, just like Zach mentioned a minute ago, LeBron lives here every summer. He was coming back to Ohio this summer no matter what happened.
Right.
What I found, I wouldn't say convinced me, but what kind of had me thinking he wasn't going to go back to Miami was that he opted out as soon as he could after the Heat just got manhandled in the finals.
Yeah.
And to me, that kind of just said that maybe he thought that was as far as that team could go, and that with Wade kind of on his last legs, they weren't going to be able to be as dominant as he thought they could be. So the timing of him deciding to opt out just always struck me as he's seriously considering leaving Miami.
That's true. I tell you, just on a media-related note really quick, I'm a little shocked that Sports Illustrated got this and that it didn't go to ESPN. It's kind of a coup for them.
It was kind of done under darkness by most people because LeBron was keeping to himself, and his camp really only gave access to the one guy. So,
well, it's just a real coup for Sports Illustrated. I'm happy for him. It's nice to see ESPN not get this.
Exactly.
Not because I'm rooting against ESPN, although I am a little bit. I'm not going to lie about it. But it's just nice to see somebody else get the big story for once. But, yeah, that's a big deal. I don't even know how the people around here are reacting to it. I think Mike brought up an interesting point. All that hate, how do you just put it in reverse and decide you don't hate him anymore?
I think so.
You
I think
burn a man in effigy. How do you move on from burning a man in effigy?
Well, it's sports.
I think what Greg said is right too. That the people that were really outlandish like that are the outliers, and maybe they were the bandwagoners, and they just wanted to be like, "Hey, look, I'm burning a jersey." And guess what? That same guy probably first in line to buy a new Cavs jersey.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's something that Dan Gilbert was obviously one of the guys that was most mad about him leaving. But I think at some point, if someone says, "Hey, LeBron wants to go to your team," the best player in basketball wants to go to your team, especially the Cavaliers, who aren't an upper echelon team. They didn't even make the playoffs last year. They weren't a competitive team, and he wants to go to you. You say, okay, great.
Yeah.
Sure. Fine. Good by me.
Well, I think it's awesome. It's great. It'll
and really, he still kind of kept himself ingratiated with the community too. So it's not and doing all this stuff like trying to appeal to the Northeast Ohio. And that's something I wanted to ask you, Greg. I mean, does all this crap that he's talking about with Northern Ohio, does that ring with you as a Northern Ohioan?
A little bit. I understand.
Do you feel like he's your son?
No. I get where he's coming from. He knew the right buttons to push with this, but I don't know if I'm too cynical or if it's because I've worked in the media for so long. But I know PR when I see it, and so to me,
that was something I wanted to ask too.
I think he said all the right things. I do give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that he really kind of feels this way because you got to think this is his home. And to have everybody from your home all of a sudden hate your guts, that can't feel very good. I don't care who you are, how much money you're making.
Yeah. And something else I heard today, which kind of made more sense, the more that you think about it, when he went from Cleveland to Miami, do you think that was more his personal decision, or was a lot of the people in his ear like, hey, we can go make money, you can go be global, you can't be a global icon in Cleveland, Ohio. But Miami, it's a cultural city, it's an ethnic city. You could be worldwide, you could win championships, you could be the greatest of all time, LeBron.
I think he had a bit of a circus running his show back in 2010. I think he got tired of he is the greatest basketball player in the game right now. But they put so much pressure on this guy while he was here. And anybody that knew even a little bit about basketball could look at even the best Cavs team that he had wasn't good enough to win a championship, and everything was being blamed on him. Again, I don't care how good you are, how much money you make, that stuff's going to get to you too. I think he just got tired of it because this place can be ridiculous with that kind of stuff, and you guys have seen it. Granted, the guys that burn jerseys and all that, they're the outliers, but there still are a lot of sports fans in this area that just take it a tad too seriously, and I think thought the minute he signed here, the minute he was drafted here, that was it, instant championships, and it didn't happen, and he got blamed for it. I don't think it's fair to him.
So do you think that now that he's going back, that they might give him a little bit more of a leash?
I would hope so.
They did the first time?
I would hope so. I think so, actually, yeah.
Do you think they feel bad about the way they treated him and said, well, he's coming back to us? You know, like, we said a lot of bad things about him, and he's coming back to us, you know?
I hope they do. Mike brought up a great point. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
On the court, the Cleveland Cavaliers are already your favorites to win the 2015 NBA title.
The title?
3-1 odds to win the NBA title.
Did the Western Conference join the European League or something?
No.
Cleveland
went to 3-1 and Miami dropped all the way to 100-1.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've updated that since some of the signings happened today, but
it wouldn't surprise me if they maybe won the East, just given how much of a dumpster fire the East is, and
I think with LeBron, they're at least the third or fourth best team in that conference.
I mean, with this comes the destruction of the superpower that was the Heat. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I don't see any reason why the Cavs couldn't win the East above anyone else. So, you know, winning the East probably, yeah, but they'd still have to probably play Tim Duncan at his solid fundamental game of basketball.
Yeah. There's that. There's that caveat to it.
Because he will never go away.
And there's the Western Conference. Again, I'm not a big follower of the NBA, but if I had to just right now say, okay, how good are the Cavs? Even with LeBron, I'd say they're probably about the level of Trailblazers, maybe. Pretty good, but not championship material.
Well, the thing that I think would put them over the top, and that's something is the trade that's been bandied about today, is them getting Kevin Love from Minnesota and not having to give up a couple of their big guys like Andrew Wiggins, like the draft picks they just got. So you'd have Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Kevin Love, and a lot of young, athletic, talented draft picks that they've stockpiled over the last few years. Which I think Kevin Love and LeBron and Kyrie Irving
that's not a bad team.
That's a pretty darn good team.
Yeah. Who knows? Like you said, it's the East. They could win 41 games and win the Eastern Conference for all we know.
Well, yeah, they don't even have to win their own division, and they could still, you know, they could win 30 games and make the playoffs.
I mean, the Toronto Raptors were the third seed in the East.
Hey,
okay,
Northern Rising, Northern Uprising,
and the Cleveland Hornets made the playoffs last year. So you know the East. I don't think they'll have much trouble in the East. The only other powerhouse in the East besides the now destroyed Heat were the Pacers, and they all hate each other.
Somebody pointed this out when I was listening to talk radio today, that this has probably been one of the most followed NBA off seasons in a long time.
I'm already kind of dreading the ESPN coverage of Cleveland with LeBron James and Johnny Manziel in the same city.
Oh God, I just realized. I just remembered
Cleveland
that.
is not far behind, my friends.
Oh boy.
Yes, sir.
Let's see how Cleveland is reacting to this. Let me go to Cleveland.com.
Cleveland.com.
I'm kind of imagining it like a GeoCities site.
Angel Fire.
Angel Fire.
Angel Fire. Are they going to put a giant poster up against the wall that's on the other side from the arena again?
Of course.
Are they going to make one with him and Manziel on it?
Okay, imagine Johnny Manziel and LeBron James in this painting.
Please tell me it's the Sistine Chapel. Yes. That's what I knew. I knew you were going to do that.
Now imagine them in that painting, and that's what they're going to put on the side of the wall.
I'm going to save this, and I'm going to make that very thing. It's going to be a poorly rendered version of it, too. It's just going to be two stupid faces. like the wrestling video when LeBron left. Yeah.
Please do that and put it in the LeBron thread.
I will.
I heard the clips of people on the morning news and the radio.
Were they crying?
There was a guy on the radio that cried.
Oh, for God's sakes.
He's like, he's coming back. Oh, my God, he's coming back.
Oh, my.
These people all are aware that LeBron James isn't the Messiah as prophesied in the Bible, right?
Hey, you don't know that.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know that. Maybe he is. Maybe when he retired, at his retirement ceremony.
This is what you guys held out for, Mike. LeBron James. Could have gone with Jesus, but nope. Had to wait. Sure. And this is what you get.
at LeBron James' retirement ceremony. It's like, okay, so I'm the Messiah. Just wanted to play some b-ball beforehand.
Yeah, I wanted to win a couple titles, but now I'm coming home, guys.
Wow.
Home to Jerusalem.
He's going to play for Maccabi Tel Aviv. I think that's their basketball team there.
The Maccabi Tel Aviv are like Maccabi Tel Aviv is like the superpower of Israeli basketball.
Jesus.
But they've actually beaten a lot of top flight European teams in like tournaments. So
cool.
Like, as far as not NBA basketball goes, Maccabi Tel Aviv is.
Speaking of that too, the thing to remember when thinking about the Cavaliers' chances, their head coach has never coached in America before. He's been a head coach in Europe for like 22 years, but he has not been a head coach at any level. He's an American guy. He played basketball over here in college and all that.
Oh, so he's not going to come in be like this weird.
No, but he came over from Russia, so he's not going to come and just be like, "Hello, I am Russian basketball coach. I am here to take LeBron back home for Vladimir Putin special game of 21 horse."
And then, of course, he plays Vladimir Putin in a game of 21, and then the Russian propaganda mill is like, King LeBron James endorses Putin's greatness.
It's LeBron. It would seem that I have 21 and you have 3. No, I made like 17 baskets. That is incorrect. In Russia, we count my basket more. Okay.
I was trying to see what the Cleveland Sports Radio website has, but they are surprisingly restrained, or unless I'm on the wrong page. Let me see.
Well, the clip that I heard today was posted on Deadspin.
There it is. Okay. No, yeah. I was on the wrong page. Yeah. Black Cavs overjoyed by LeBron news. LeBron will help Kyrie Irving be even better. Gee, you think? There's a way to go out on a limb.
The best player in basketball make the other players around him better.
Wow, there's a stretch, huh?
Yeah, that's the scoop of the century.
So, Greg, how many Cleveland Cavaliers LeBron James jerseys have you pre-ordered?
Every single one. I took $1,000 out of my bank account and just sent it to the Cavs and said, when they're ready, just send them to me. Every single one of them.
And then you're going to end up with like 17 Cav Fanatic jerseys that just.
Well, the nice thing is that they can't change their look this year because
it's too late.
It's too late. But next year. Sure. How much notice do they have to give in the NBA?
I think you have to announce. I think you have to give the NBA 2 years notice before you can change uniforms. So,
well, that's
something
good.
like that.
But that's just primaries. They can introduce all kinds of weird, stupid alternates.
Yeah.
And they will.
Oh my God! The first poll on WKNR, ESPN Radio Cleveland. Will the Cavs win the NBA title next year? No, they will not.
Of course. Oh, Greg.
It's 50-50, believe it or not. Here in Cleveland, it's 50-50. People aren't sold.
Well, I think they still need a little bit.
I think so, too.
I think they're going to be a pretty good team. They're probably going to make the Eastern Conference Final. At the very least, this will get me to watch a few more NBA games next year.
Oh, definitely. Me, too.
Yeah. I'll watch LeBron in Cleveland.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, the Cavs. I mean, geez, all of a sudden, those tickets that were so easy to get last year, not so much now.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how many season tickets they've sold today since he made the announcement.
I can't even imagine. I'm sure if they weren't sold out before, they're sold out now.
That crying guy got some.
I was going to ask you guys this. Probably not so much in L.A. because it's L.A., but Mike, in Toronto, would Toronto lose their shit if the Maple Leafs won a Stanley Cup, or would they behave like Cleveland does for any reason?
If Toronto won a Stanley Cup?
Or just anything. I mean, is there anything in sports in Toronto or in your area that would make people behave the way they do here?
I'd say Toronto winning a Stanley Cup would be the closest thing. After the Maple Leafs, the team most people care about would be the Blue Jays, but the Blue Jays winning the World Series, like, people would be restrained if the Blue Jays won the World Series. We'd all be all like, oh, that's super. But,
what if the Raptors won the NBA title?
I don't think half of Ontario probably wouldn't notice.
What if the Argos won a Grey Cup?
They won a Grey Cup last year and things were relatively peaceful.
The party's ended? They're still not celebrating?
Ended. The party's ended.
I thought they'd celebrate that for 100 years.
They won the 100th Grey Cup, which actually worked out nicely because they are the oldest team in the league. But
I mean, there's only 6 teams in the league.
Yeah.
07. Sorry, Ottawa Red Blacks.
That's right.
Red Blacks.
My favorite team.
Stupid team name.
No, the Red Blacks. No. The Maple Leafs winning the Stanley Cup, I could see that getting rambunctious just because it's been so – people have waited so long for it.
Yeah, but
that, if it happened, I could see some rioting, maybe not like Vancouver levels, but
Montreal won the cup. What with the Toronto?
Oh no, they'd riot in Montreal.
In Montreal, but would Toronto just have another sad day party?
Yeah.
I guess
we'd all just be like, "Oh,
we're still the Maple Leafs."
What I'm trying to ask isn't so much how they would react if a team won, but just that. It's too bad Andy's not here because I wonder if Chicago would be.
The thing is that the big thing with LeBron was that not only was he the best player in the league who spurned them, but he was like the hometown guy.
Yeah,
spurned them. And okay, Maple Leaf fans, we're used to talented players from Southern Ontario not playing for the Maple Leafs. So
wasn't there a thing for a long time that Maple Leafs fans wanted Gretzky to go there?
Yeah,
they campaigned really hard.
Back in the 80s, like we almost got Gretzky from the Oilers before he won all those Stanley Cups. Like there was a deal. I might be remembering some of the details wrong, but there was a deal in place to send Gretzky, Messier, McSorley, and Coffey to the Maple Leafs back in
what?
So in an alternate universe, the 80s Maple Leafs, the 80s Maple Leafs.
Yes.
Oh God.
Honest to God, what on earth could Toronto possibly offer for those four players to make it worthwhile?
You have to understand that the Oilers' owner at the time was a renowned crooked businessman, and the idea would have been
that's why he ended up having to trade Gretzky to L.A. in the first place.
Was money. So that would have been the idea that apparently back then he was in a rough spot, and Toronto was offering to bail him out, but he was able to get out of it without dismantling the team.
It was Gretzky, Messier, McSorley, and who?
Coffey.
Jesus.
Yeah, no, Zach's right. In some alternate universe, the 80s Maple Leafs are the 80s Oilers.
Wow, I mean, why not just throw Yari Curry in there and Grant Fuhr and just give them the whole damn team?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that would have been something. It's too bad it didn't happen. I feel bad for you, Mark. That would have changed your whole history.
Well, in that alternate history, that just means we wouldn't have won a cup since 1990, and that probably would have been that would be wearing thin now. Like we still probably would have made, well, okay.
Well, it'd be bad, but it wouldn't be so bad.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of this alternate universe because in the
alternate universe, I guess you just take on the Oilers' path, and eventually you just get an 8 seed, and Dwayne Rollison would give you Game 7 of a Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, we'd get Dwayne Rollison. We'd end up losing to the Nashville Predators or something, the Stanley Cup.
Oh, God.
Them being the West's equivalent of the Carolina Hurricanes, a Sunbelt team that really nobody gives a crap about.
I still can't believe the Canes won a cup. That still just blows my mind.
It's weird.
It is weird.
It just seems to me like that was just a really down year for the NHL, and they're the best of the not so good teams.
It's just so sad because that was the year before the year after the lockout.
Yeah.
So we're all excited, we get hockey back, and we get the Oilers and Hurricanes in the final.
Yeah, and then the Oilers couldn't even win the damn thing. I mean, that would have been cool. At least.
But hats off to that Oilers team. They made it to Game 7 with their third string goalie. So
yeah,
if Dwayne Rollison doesn't get hurt 10 minutes into Game 1.
Oh well,
I think we've exhausted the NBA.
Yeah, I think so too.
Which just turned into NHL talk.
Well, it always does.
Well, yeah.
You can only go so far at the NBA before you have to just kind of cleanse your palate and talk about something more interesting.
Mm-hmm. Craig, as the state representative for Ohio, any final words on the future of Cleveland, the Cavaliers, and beloved hometown son LeBron James?
Just don't be Cleveland fans. Act normal.
Don't be yourselves.
Don't be yourselves. Just try to have at least a modicum of dignity and a little bit of class. That's all I'm asking.
You sound like a beleaguered parent addressing out of control kids. Look, we've got company coming over.
Oh God, I mean, I love sports. I do. We all do. But my God, I just don't understand how they get so bent out of shape. That's what I was trying to ask earlier. Is there any other city in the country that behaves this way? And maybe it's just because I'm closer to it. It seems worse than it really is. But
the only one that I could think of would be maybe Buffalo.
I could see Chicago just kind of listening to Andy's horror stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. I guess I was going to say it's a Midwest thing, but Detroit's not like that.
No, not at all.
Detroit's just sad.
No, yeah, Detroit's just irrevocably broken is what their problem
Cincinnati
is.
doesn't have it.
Cincinnati's not like this, no.
No.
I mean, we've only got the Blue Jackets in Columbus, but God knows they don't behave this way. Oh, well.
Oh, I mean, Buckeye fans.
Yeah, but
the same people.
They're boy, they might even be worse. Actually, now that I think about it,
honestly, it's what you mentioned. You've alluded to a few times in the past, Greg. That when the original Browns left, something happened.
Yes,
to the community, and it just never really recovered from that.
Yeah, I can't explain it, but I've said it a million times before, and this is my thought on Ohio as the representative. Before 1995, we were an intelligent fan base. We knew our stuff. We behaved accordingly. Okay, we've got the greatest basketball player in the game right now back. Let's see if we can't go back and kind of behave pre-95. That would be my
hope. When I think, if you really think about it, 95, you lose the Browns. What year was the Craig Elo shot?
I think 89, 88 maybe.
Jordan over Craig. Oh, why is that the first result? I'm sorry.
I think it has its own Wikipedia page.
The shot, yes, it does. 89. You're right.
Okay,
but wasn't that also this? Wasn't it like a year or two after when the Indians lost in the World Series?
They lost in the World Series
lost in 97,
95, and 97.
So
right.
it's that 90s period of Cleveland sports that just really kind of stuck the final nail in the coffin of just screw it, we're done, screw all this crap.
I suppose.
Because, I mean, in the 80s you had the drive and the fumble, and that built up to the shot, which builds up to the Browns leaving, which builds up to the Indians collapsing again.
But, see, here's the thing, though. Even up to 95, before the Browns left, with the drive, with the fumble, with the loss in the 89 title game to Denver again, there was never this woe is us, oh God help us, we're just so desperate for a championship mentality around here. It just didn't exist like that. Yeah, the drive sucked, the fumble was even worse. The 89 game, it was kind of like, what are we doing here? But afterwards you didn't go, oh God, it happened to us again. It was kind of like, well, maybe this next time. It was more optimism. Now they're just insane. I don't know what their problem
if
is.
it makes you feel any better, those Broncos teams got killed in each of those Super Bowls, so it's not like the Browns would have won it all had they just gotten past Elway.
The only one I think they would have won would have been in 87 because they would have played the Redskins, and I think they were a better team than the Redskins that year. Maybe beat the Giants. No way they're beating the 49ers in 89. It's just not going to happen.
No, Joe Montana was full on, this is my league mode.
Yeah, and like I've said before, if they were still down there scoring touchdowns on Denver, I'd still be watching that 55-10 game. That's how much I hated the Broncos at that point. But anyway, on that note, let's move on to something else.
Yeah, we got plenty else going on in the wide world of sports.
A destra, eccolo il cross di testa,
Are we off to Brazil to talk a little soccer?
Let's go down to Brazil because, folks, we have a final set.
It's a final. Yeah. Oh wait. Oh,
the final set.
I'm not happy about this final.
Yeah. Well, the Germans they did many unspeakable things to the Brazilians in a 7-1 drubbing in the first World Cup semifinal.
If I understand it's Brazil's worst loss in 90 years.
That's kind of like the 55-10 Super Bowl I was talking about a little bit ago, huh?
Yeah, it's Germany was up 5-0 in the first 29 minutes of the game, which in soccer terms is like 15 goals going in the first period of a hockey game, I guess. Ended up being, it was 7-0. Brazil got their one goal in stoppage time, after the 90th minute.
Right.
And but
God,
it was terrible to watch. Just how mercilessly Germany just attacked.
Were they just a well-oiled machine, precision?
Of course, they are a well-oiled machine that they fight for the fjord and the fatherland.
Germans would be very mad at you, Mike.
He doesn't care.
Well, I'm going to get to something related.
I think he's got a few reasons to be mad at the Germans too. So
I'm allowed to make the Nazi German joke.
Brazil played horribly, and Germany played at their optimum efficiency.
Of course they did.
And so that's what you got. Actually, the last time they lost this badly in a World Cup was 1950.
Yeah, didn't they completely change their uniforms?
Right. They lost so badly all those years ago that they actually changed their uniform colors.
7-1 in a soccer game. That is just
at the biggest stage in the sport,
right,
in their home country.
Right.
Here's a Tumblr with all these just devastated people.
There's a Tumblr devoted to sad Brazilians.
These people look so devastated.
Wow, it's called sadbrazilians.tumblr.com.
Yeah.
Oh, that one guy. It's like the second one. He's like eating a flag.
This is the one that just kills me every time I see it. This poor man. Sad Brazilian grandpa. Holding his World Cup trophy close to his heart, and he just looks so sad.
But he's been around to see them win before. Okay,
right? But this was the one. This was their home country. They killed thousands of favela children to put up these stadiums.
That's right. They bulldozed the slums without evicting people.
and he's so sad.
I looked what Admiral posted of that girl crying. It's like, we killed all those slum children for this. Okay, I like this one. It's got it's a picture of a German player having scored a goal. The Brazilian goalie's just on the ground. He's got a smile on his face. Like, what the fuck's even happening anymore?
Oh, people!
Yeah, there was the whole city of Brazil. Or the whole country of Brazil cried one single tear.
By comparison, Cleveland doesn't look so bad all of a sudden.
Somebody photoshopped a Brazil jersey onto the fat black guy who was shocked at The Undertaker losing at WrestleMania.
Yeah. It was terrible.
Oh, a little kid crying makes me feel bad, too.
Yeah. And as terrible as it was, of course, we mentioned this when the U.S. played Germany, the amount of Nazi that gets thrown around. Yeah. When the German team fully eviscerates another country's team.
Blitzkrieg?
You get Blitzkrieg. I actually use that because it was actually more appropriate because they hit hard and fast. But you get a lot of Holocaust jokes.
Oh no! Oh, I don't even want to go that route.
Germans just scored their 6th goal, and the Nazis killed 6 million people. Call me crazy, but I think they're trying to have Holocaust 2.0.
That's not
Germany doing the Holocaust all over again. Hashtag Holocaust 2.0. Some of them made Anne Frank jokes. Neymar hiding from Germany like Anne Frank. It's all good, Brazil. Anne Frank couldn't hide from Germany either. This one was funny. It's from Max Silvestri, who is a comedian. Probably already some Germans denying this many goals were scored. The number of 5 is exaggerated. Guys. But yeah, so Germany romps over Brazil 7-1. Brazil, they still get to play in the 3rd place match.
Well, they'll
be as motivated as the American team was in their bronze medal game.
Right.
So Germany, they move on.
Who do we have in the final?
Before we go to that, there's one last tab I have on this. The beating was so brutal by the Germans, right? Do you guys know what the website Pornhub is?
Yeah. Yes, it's a hub of porn.
It's a free. It's like YouTube for porn. It's free.
Let me write that down really quick. I'm just kidding.
People can upload videos. But,
okay.
But did you type it in, Greg?
No. I just want to. I've got an idea where this is headed, and I think it's going to be funny. So keep going.
Pornhub's official Twitter had to put up a notice saying, please stop uploading game highlights to Pornhub. Our public humiliation category is full. Because people were literally uploading highlights of the game into the public humiliation category. In one of the videos that they took a screen cap of it, it says, young Brazilians get effed by entire German soccer team.
God.
Public humiliation, understatement.
God.
Understatement on that one. Brazil gets to go to the 3rd place game, and they will play the Dutch as they lost in a complete antithesis of the other match.
A 0-0 game that went to penalties.
Yeah, you have a 7-1 just evisceration, a pure display of some of the most gorgeous soccer you've seen by Germany. And then you go to the 0-0, just unwatchable slog between Argentina and the Netherlands. And Argentina ended up winning on penalty kicks. Not the most, thrilling way to win, but They won, and so this final is bad for Brazil, the fans, because not only like they either have to root for the team that beat us 7-1 on our home soil,
or their rivals,
or their blood rivals, the Argentines.
Jeez.
Also, this World Cup is now between the country that elected the Nazis and the country that harbored the Nazis.
It's also a game between the old Pope and the new Pope.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of little nice storylines developing in this game then, I guess.
I found this fun. Argentinian defender Javier Mascherano, he was defending a shot by Dutch forward Arjen Robben. And if you translate his quote that he gave to the media afterwards, why he was in so much pain after that shot, the translation is, "I tore the anus." So the pain.
In his anus.
So pain. Yeah. And so they got
I think it would have been a Brazilian guy saying that.
They got a more accurate translation, and it was, "I spread out my anus on that last tackle. That's why I felt so much pain." And they made sure that it wasn't. He didn't spread his butts. He didn't spread his ass. It is the word anus.
Wow,
very specific.
That's a tough injury to take. How do you do that? Go ahead, Mike. I'll sit and ponder that for a minute while you talk.
I was just going to say I'm actually going to be pulling for Germany in this World Cup final. Argentina, you don't get the Falklands, you don't get a World Cup.
Wow, you're going to root for Germany?
Oh, yeah. It's
this is
tough.
actually,
Who do I want
I'm going to root for
in that?
Argentina because I like Lionel Messi, the player, and I think he's the best player in the world. He finally needs to be crowned as a world champion.
Yeah, I got to go with Argentina in this one, too, I think.
And because I don't really like the Germans.
Can't say I'm crazy about them.
Nobody likes the Germans. They're the least funny people in the world.
German humor is...
But I think I talked about this back when we were doing the World Cup preview. It's just got to suck to be German sometimes because you've always got to live with that giant shadow over you.
Well, it's funny. It's something that I actually read an article, I guess last week. It was some journalist that lives over in Germany now. He's an American. Anyway, it said that things like the World Cup are actually very weird in Germany because Germans try to contain their nationalism and their patriotism now.
Sure.
Because the last time they got really riled up about, hey, how cool is Germany?
Things didn't go so well for a lot of people.
Right. So they have these things, like they don't have these big, like they have the viewing parties, but it's not the same, like they don't have the same energy.
Well, sure. They start getting riled up and people start getting nervous.
Right. It's like, well, guys, we don't want to get too, Germany's a cool place, but we don't want to, guys.
We know what
come on.
Last time.
Crazy stuff happens, man.
Yeah,
crazy stuff happens when Germany gets too excited.
So yeah, I got to root for the Argentines.
That's what I'm saying, man. Germany gets riled up and people get nervous.
Third place match.
Oh, yippee!
The Dutch and the Brazilians.
Honestly, I don't see the Brazilians having. How do you play in front of your home crowd after getting eviscerated?
It's gonna be rough.
They got to do it, right? They can't just forfeit.
They can't just not show up.
We're headed for the airport.
The Dutch are going to win it.
Yeah.
Probably just by default. Because they're going to be like, we're so sad, guys.
It's just going to be a team of sad Brazilians being watched by sad Brazilians.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's a tough one. That's a tough one to take. 7-1.
That grandpa looks so sad.
I know. Usually I make fun of things like that, but geez, he just looked devastated.
I know.
I couldn't bring myself to make a joke.
The way he's clutching the World Cup trophy.
Yeah.
This was ours.
Yeah.
We lost it. But the World Cup will, thankfully for you two, it wraps up. Saturday is the third place match. Sunday is your final.
Ladies and gentlemen, Zach's Tabs.
Zach's Tabs!
When sometimes you think about changing rules in the NHL, you have to test them out somewhere. One league has to be the guinea pig.
Right.
So the AHL is doing a few rule changes next season.
Okay.
Oh.
The biggest one in the AHL is going to be regarding overtime.
Oh.
During the regular season, the sudden death overtime period will be 7 minutes in length, preceded by a dry scrape of the entire ice surface. Teams will change end at the start of overtime. Playing full strength will be 4-on-4 until the first whistle following 3 minutes of play, at which time full strength will be reduced to 3-on-3 for the duration of the overtime period.
That sounds stupid, and I hate it already.
If the game is still tied following overtime, a winner will be determined by a 3-player shootout.
It sounds stupid and complicated already.
Right.
I don't like it.
It's too confusing.
If they were going to do like 5 minutes of 4-on-4 and then stop, and then 5 minutes of 3-on-3 and then go, I'd be okay with that. But then it's like, well, it's past the third minute, but no one is stopping in play, so you're just going to have 4-on-4 for the whole time if they don't blow a whistle?
I like the direction they're trying to go with it. Adding a couple minutes isn't a bad idea, but it's too confusing. Mm-hmm. Let's just say, all right, we're going to go 7 minutes now, 4-on-4, and leave it at that. That I think would be an improvement, but this is just too much stuff going on and too hard to figure out, and somebody will end up getting screwed.
It's not going to help because in the United States, where you're still trying to get people on board with this hockey thing, people are going to ask, okay, well, how does overtime work? And they're like, well, let me get this diagram out.
Yeah, right, I know. Trying to explain that. Like, if you're at a game, well, why are they stopping? Why are they only playing with 3 guys now? Why is 7's like a weird number, too?
Yeah.
Like, we're going to stop at 3 minutes? Like, yeah.
I don't know.
I like the idea of trying to fix the overtime issue, but I don't think that's the way to go with it. 3-on-3, you're probably going to always get a goal, I would think, if you play long enough.
Not always. It could be pretty sloppy, but there's plenty of open ice. The point is, like, to get all that open ice, and you would be able to.
Right.
Yeah. Other things regarding fighting. An automatic game misconduct will be applied to any player who has been assessed 2 major penalties for fighting or 3 major penalties for any infraction in the same game. Currently, the limit is 3 fights in a game. You get a game misconduct, so they're lowering it down to 2.
I still think they should just eliminate fighting entirely.
You think?
I don't think that's possible, though. I don't think it's possible. It's too ingrained in the culture of the game.
Well, I would be for that.
Quoting the Al Michaels BS Report podcast, there were, I think he said 3 fights in the entirety of the.
Yeah, you don't fight in the playoffs generally because you don't want to take yourself off the ice. And the other thing too.
That's what I'm saying, though. It can be done. Is my point.
But the playoffs are different in that way because in the regular season you play so many games.
Yeah.
And the guys need to kind of police themselves. And so you have the enforcers are more useful in the regular season. When you get to the playoffs, your enforcers are usually the guys that are scratched because they're not of a whole lot of use other than fighting.
Yeah.
And in the game, you want somebody out there that's going to be productive.
And you're just not going to be able to keep a playoff mentality going the entire season. Like that Florida Panthers Carolina Hurricanes game in the middle of December is not going to have playoff atmosphere hockey.
No, but I mean, and I know that I'm rare in the fact that I just would like to see fighting eliminated. I just think it detracts from the game. It detracts from the sport. And I know a lot of people love it, the whole bloodlust thing and all that. But to me, it's just I could do without it. But
I don't see it as bloodlust. I mean, I see it as
not with you guys, but I'm talking about like your general, like a Cleveland fan would feel that way.
Right. I still see it as a legitimate, viable function within the course of a game that needs to be.
It does have its place, and at the same time, like I said, I don't think it's possible to get rid of it. Like if you really wanted to get rid of fighting, you'd have to go down to like peewee and midget level. Like you can't just start at the AHL.
You'd have to take the instinct out of them.
When you played in high school, Mike, how many fights were there in the games that you played? I'm just asking. I mean,
there were 1 or 2 per game on average.
Really?
Yeah, and I think I've told the story before, but like when when you turn like 13 and they start teaching you and they finally legalize checking.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It turns kids start just like check like not to get the puck, just to hit because now you're allowed.
And isn't it in junior they have penalties now where like if you fight twice. Like, you're only allowed a certain amount of fights in a certain amount of time, and if you go over that, then you get suspended for, like, 3 or 4 games. Yeah. And it doesn't deter kids from fighting. They still go out there and fight.
No, it doesn't. And, that's what you can't just start at the AHL and say no fighting here. And you can't even go down to the juniors and say no fighting here. You have to go down to, like, mom and dad bring in, their 10-year-old to the rink on Saturday morning. That's the level that you've got to basically got to train an entire generation,
like 2 or 3 generations of players not do it.
Okay, exactly. So maybe it's a little unreasonable to just say, okay, no more fighting.
It would never happen because, first of all, the Players Association would never allow it because it would eliminate some guys' jobs. And
yeah, that's true.
They would also be like, well, we need these guys to protect the star players. They would fight that argument until the death of it. No matter how many guys got injured in fights over a certain amount of time, they will never ever get rid of that.
Well, I'd still like to
the
see
players
them
would
get rid
fight
of
for it.
But you make a good point. If you've got to go all the way down to the 10-year-olds to get rid of it, it's not going to happen in my lifetime.
No, it would have to be a slow process.
Okay, so Canada, baseball, or Greg?
Let's do Greg.
Okay, we'll do mine.
Well, Greg, this actually ties into your classic rock cast that you have.
Hey, all right.
And it's an article about why classic rock isn't what it used to be. It was on the 538.
Back up a second. It's classic rock. It's exactly what it used to be. It doesn't change.
No, well, it does.
Oh, okay.
It does insofar as what people consider classic changes as the generations move along.
Oh, well, yeah.
There are some things like Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and all that. They will always be classic rock. But as time goes on, things like Pearl Jam, or Guns N' Roses, REM, even now Green Day is slipping into classic rock.
Zach, you and I, we're around the same age. How do you feel? Backstreet Boys, classic rock?
Yeah, Joey and all them.
No, what's happening in that respect is that classic rock is slowly becoming oldies. And now you're looking at in radio, the way we always programmed it was that the music that you like between the ages of 12 and 25 pretty much set where you're going to be the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. So let's say that right now I'm out of the demo for classic rock that I would have been in 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And that's why. So, yeah, all of a sudden Pearl Jam's classic rock now, and Nirvana, Alice in Chains.
The good guys at 538, and I'll link you to this article, Greg, because you should really read through this. It's actually interesting. You'd like it. They have all these graphs, and they have like this graph with classic rock song plays by release year of the 37,000 plays from a sample of classic rock radio. What do you think, if you had to guess a year-ish, what do you think has the highest percentage of plays on classic rock stations?
What year has the highest percentage?
Yes.
Right now, I'm going to say 85.
85 is actually a little bit low. It's a little under 2%. The high is about 1973.
Really?
1973, 74. Yeah, it's about 7%.
Wow.
The big chunk of it is from 73 to 82. It accounts for 57% of all songs played on classic rock.
That sounds about right.
And you get the small trickle of things that move into the 90s. I don't understand why. There's got to be some like re-releases or like live things, but there are numbers on this that say from like 05 into the 10s. I'm like, where are these things coming from?
As classic rock songs?
Well, I gotta assume they're classic rock bands that have released new stuff. That's
because every once in a great while, like Kiss, for example, came out with the album Sonic Boom a few years ago, and it went to like number 2 on the rock charts. So that would probably fall into that category. That's still they're a classic rock band with new material, essentially.
They also have a list of the most played songs over the 25 radio stations they studied. What do you think is what they found was the number one most played song on classic rock stations?
The number one most played song on classic rock stations. It used to be Stairway to Heaven, but it probably isn't anymore.
Is Stairway even on this list? No.
Okay, so these days the most played song on classic rock. I'm going to go with Hotel California by the Eagles.
Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Cyndi Lauper.
The top 2 songs are from the same band. They're both from a band from Boston.
Aerosmith?
Aerosmith.
Okay, Dream On and Walk This Way.
Sweet Emotion.
Sweet Emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, good. That's a much better choice.
Number 3 is Jimi Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower.
Sucky song, yeah.
I love that song.
And see, now this could turn into a whole completely different debate.
You got a real classic rock cast.
I don't...
Yeah, let's stop this before it becomes something else.
I'll just say this really quickly. I've always thought Jimi Hendrix was a little overrated. Not a lot overrated, just a little. I don't think he's as great as people think he is.
He did Hulk Hogan's NWO theme song in the late 90s. Voodoo Child.
That's a good song. That's a great song.
Number 4 is You Shook Me All Night Long, AC/DC. Number 5, More Than a Feeling, Boston. Number 6, Carry On Wayward Son, Kansas.
Wow. That surprised me a little.
Number 7, Peace of Mind by Boston.
Great radio song.
Crazy on You by Heart. Number 9 and 10 are both ZZ Top.
Oh, it's got to be Sharp Dressed Man and Give Me All Your Lovin'.
Legs and Sharp Dressed Man.
Really?
Yep. And then Kiss comes in at number 11.
I was going to go TV Dinner.
Kiss is at number 11?
Rock and Roll All Night.
Because I got to think
Bohemian Rhapsody, Styx, Renegade, Heart, Magic Man, Journey, Wheel in the Sky, Manfred Mann, Blinded by the Light, and Canada checks in on the charts.
Rush with Tom Sawyer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Joker by Steve Miller. And then they also have the top 25 most played bands. And if you had to pick a band that was the number 1, you would have been right with Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
4.1% of all radio plays.
Where the Eagles fall in there, or do they?
The Eagles are 13.
Let's see. You're going to have ZZ Top's going to be in there.
ZZ Top is 8.
Boston, I think, has got to be in there.
Boston is 12.
Aerosmith.
7.
Kansas.
Where'd Kansas go?
I don't think they're a top played band because they've only got really like 2 big hits.
Here we go. You got Led Zeppelin, Van Halen, Rolling Stones.
That doesn't surprise me. Van Halen. Stones.
Rolling Stones, Pink Floyd, Tom Petty, AC/DC, Aerosmith, ZZ Top, The Beatles, and Queen are your top 10.
Sounds about right.
Canada checks in with the Rush at number 21.
Rush is only 21?
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. You're talking nationwide. Rush is huge in the Midwest. They have been since way before.
Well, let's see. Rush, their most played city, or I think that's how this works. Oh, no. Yes, the city where Rush has played the most in America, according to this thing, Kansas City.
That's interesting.
Led Zeppelin has played the most in New York. Van Halen the most in Denver. Rolling Stones are played the most in Tampa Bay.
Well, there's a lot of old people down there.
Tom Petty's played the most in Tampa Bay. I could make out a Tampa Bay classic rock station because they're all on here. Tampa Bay plays the most of Rolling Stones, Aerosmith, Tom Petty, Journey, the Eagles, and Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac wasn't in the top 10?
Fleetwood Mac is 20.
Wow.
And then they also break it down into the cities again. What's closest to you? Okay, Cincinnati, Ohio, Greg. Who do you think is the most played classic rock band?
In Cincinnati?
In Cincinnati. Your neck of the woods, Ohio.
I'm going to go off the boards a little bit. I'm going to say ZZ Top.
Bryan Adams.
Bryan Adams?
Oh, Canada.
Bryan Adams.
Bryan Adams?
According to this.
What the hell is wrong with Cincinnati?
Well, we're going to stick in the Midwest because some of these are interesting. Okay, Detroit.
Probably Bob Seger.
Jay Giles Band.
I can see that.
Kansas City is Stevie Ray Vaughan. St. Louis is Metallica.
Wow, that's a shocker.
Chicago, Bruce Springsteen.
That's a little bit of a shocker, too.
Over in the West, L.A., their most played classic rock band, and this is where it starts to get weird. Pearl Jam.
That's not that weird.
Close to 5%.
Pearl Jam.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Kiss doesn't rule the airwaves?
No.
Kiss does rule the airwaves in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wow.
Seattle is Yes. Sorry. I'm reading this chart wrong. It's classic rock across America, where artists are played most often compared to the average.
Okay.
So Pearl Jam is played five times more on average in L.A. than in any other city.
Okay. That makes more sense.
That's what that is. It's like Bryan Adams is played 1.5 more times on average in Cincinnati.
All right. You know? That makes more sense because Bryan Adams, I mean, he's got a couple of good songs, but for God's sakes.
Did they just play Summer of '69 on loop?
Oh, they got that one, that song Run to You, and oh, geez. See, it is turning into the classic rockcast. You're just explaining my entire show.
Seattle is Yes.
More by comparison to everybody else, not necessarily the most played band.
3.5 times more than anybody else.
Okay.
San Francisco, Nirvana.
Wow.
Sacramento, Jackson Brown.
You got to link me this article. This is wild.
Portland is Steppenwolf. Boston, the Allman Brothers.
In Boston, Massachusetts.
Yes.
Okay.
They play the Allman Brothers 6 times more than anywhere else in the country.
Wow.
Washington is REM. Pittsburgh is Neil Young.
See, now wouldn't say the Allman Brothers would make sense in, say, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, in the South, not in Boston. I would think Boston would be Springsteen and Springsteen and that kind of stuff.
New York makes a whole bunch of sense. It's Billy Joel, if he's classic rock, I guess.
Okay.
Philly is Rod Stewart.
Really?
San Antonio, Motley Crue.
I can see that.
Tampa Bay is REO Speedwagon.
What?
Houston is Paul McCartney and Wings. Miami's Billy Joel, and Charlotte is Kiss.
I still can't believe Kiss is, again, not the most played band. Just they're played more often in Charlotte.
They played 1.2 times more in Charlotte than anywhere else.
Well, let's move along from the Classic Rockcast back to basically a sports show.
Yes. We'll go to Canada. Woo! And, we have the World Cup in soccer, or as football, as they would call it. And there was evidence this week as to why we don't have a World Cup in American football. Canada, Mike, they competed in the Under-19 IFAF World Championships.
Okay.
And they played Kuwait.
We lost to Kuwait, didn't we?
In football?
In football.
American football.
American football.
Oh, Mike.
That's embarrassing.
No. Canada won.
Oh.
91-0.
That makes me feel better.
Canada taking Kuwait to the woodshed. Nice.
Yeah,
that's what they get.
There's a lot of special team stats here, and of course,
Kuwait bastards.
2 punts were returned for a touchdown, but they did pretty good in their kick coverage. The Kuwaitis.
Well, they can hang their hats on that.
Yes. So in under-19 international football, Canada is much better than Kuwait at football.
I should hope so.
I was going to say, I can't say that I'm terribly surprised by that.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
The CFL, they signed a new TV deal here in the States.
All right.
Oh,
exclusive U.S. broadcast deal with ESPN. 5-year deal. Certain games are going to be on ESPN2, on ESPN3, all the different outlets. They're going to have a little bit – they're only going to have 17 regular season games broadcasted this year on ESPN. But, CFL going to be on ESPN, so there's going to be more coverage here in the States, and we can see Chad Johnson playing with the Montreal Alouettes.
Go Redbacks. That's probably a better name, actually.
Do you want to call the Redskins the Redbacks?
No, I was talking about the Ottawa Red Blacks.
I know.
My boys. But I think, Redbacks is probably a better name. Makes no sense, but neither does Redblacks. But that's what I like about it.
That is it.
That is it.
The tabs.
All right. Mike, quickly, what's coming up on Basically a Geek Show?
We're going to talk about Pacific Rim getting a sequel, even though the movie bombed. And Pacific Rim 2 is going to be a thing.
And I get to make a plug here. The first episode of the rebooted Classic Rockcast will be up shortly.
Yeah.
I talked with the guys from the Strange Ways podcast about, of course, the official band of Basically a Sports Show, Kiss.
Yeah!
Jody Havnot and D-Rock from...
How you doing tonight?
Anyway, so you can check that out. It'll be on the Bass website. And follow us at Basically Sports.
I can't hear you.
Go to the website, basicallyasportshow.com, and you can email us, folks. I haven't brought up the email in a while. basicallyasportshow@gmail.com.
Have you checked the email in a while?
I haven't. Maybe I should do that. That's kind of got out of the habit. But anyway, so that's going to do it for us. We will see you all next time right here on Basically a Sports Show.
Later, folks.
Later.